Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Krashy, and today we're going to be doing a build guide, jungle build guide for Crunch. We got the big green mech robot looking dude here, and yeah, let's go ahead and dive into it. First and foremost with the crest, the rogue assassin crest into a witch stalker is like always the best for Crunch, pretty much. You can get away with like an Icaro talons, you can get away with like near war boots or Sapphire's mantle, something like that if you want to do a different crest. But essentially the reason why this is so good is because it adds healing from the actual crest, adds omnivamp, it gives him a cleanse. So it's just like, you know, being CC'd when you're trying to combo and do all these crazy things and pop off is not great. So Witch Stalker's great for that, but also because you get a little bit extra healing in this. The omnivamp goes well with Crunch's passive, and then physical pen and damage or power, because why not? So Witch Stalker is pretty much the crest to go when it comes to Crunch. Now, Crunch is a bit harder to talk about the builds for because there's a lot of good options for Crunch. So we're going to talk about like a damage focus build and then talk about a like more tanky focus build. He is inherently a bruiser, so it's kind of the spectrum of where you want to build him as a bruiser that you want to start with. So Mutilator, this is a very phenomenal item for Crunch. Let's talk about it. We have 3,300 cost, a little bit expensive of an item, but 40 physical power, 15 ability haste, 8% omnivamp. That's really the kicker right there. We're going to talk about the passives as well, but this has like everything that Crunch needs. It's got power, so that's his damage. It's got ability haste, which Crunch is an ability focused bruiser. He's not an auto attack focused bruiser. He does do auto attacks, but he's very ability spamming. So anything that has haste is always really good for Crunch. And then 8% omnivamp. Again, this is just raising his healing. This works with his passive. This is a phenomenal item for Crunch. Now we have Mutilate basic attacks, deal 1% of the enemy hero's maximum health as bonus. Physical damage applies twice on abilities. So again, applies twice on abilities. You're smacking around, you're doing a bunch of damage, and you are, you know, tearing tanks down. This is like an anti-tank kind of item. And it's just good. This item just fits Crunch so incredibly well. Devour, damaging an enemy hero with an ability steals 5% of the maximum health for 20 seconds, occurring once per target. So you have the ability to kind of like steal some health. It's a good survivability item with the Omnivamp, and very, very good. So I think that most Crunch builds should be starting with this. Now you have an option to go like very damaged focus and follow that up with an augmentation. So let's take a look at augmentation. 3,200 gold, 40 physical power, 300 health, 20 ability haste. So again, this has everything that a Crunch would need as well. It's got 40 physical power, which is your damage, 300 health. That's going to kind of increase your effective HP, make you a little bit more tanky. But again, this is still an HP focused item. This is still a damage focused item. 20 ability haste, a really, really phenomenal amount of haste. And then you have, after using an ability, your next basic attack within 4 seconds deals bonus true damage on hit based on your physical power. So you do a bunch of true damage. Again, if you don't know what true damage is damage that ignores armors. So you just hit them really, really hard. And then overclocked is upon casting your ultimate, gain 20% movement speed. So again, ability focused kind of character, 20 haste, being able to proc this true strikes is true strikes is a lot of damage. And then you know, you cast your ultimate, you know, semi regularly or quite often throughout the game. Even when you're just rotating around the map, you can cast your ultimate and yeah, increase movement speed, so moving around. So I think that this is a phenomenal second item. This is if you're going a very damage focused kind of build, because you're building up the health, and that's good, but you've already built an item that doesn't have any health or defenses. So this is an inherently fighter focused item that doesn't really feel like a fighter item. So it kind of puts you down in that regard. So going Mutilator into augmentation, you can do it, but you're kind of putting your survivability down a little bit. Now, if you're going to go this, you need to instantly start getting some armors built up for yourself. Tainted Guard is pretty much always a phenomenal item on Crunch because it does have the ability haste. You know, compared to some other like tank items, you're not really going to get a ton of that. I think Draconum's okay, but it doesn't bring any health, and this item can be pretty nice, but you're not really going to get a ton of ability haste. Now, I will say Tainted Guard and Giant's Ring, two of probably the best armor items on Crunch in general, as well as Citadel. So this is the part of the build that's like, it's really, really hard to tell you how to build Crunch because it really just depends on what you need. If you're going a damage focused build, you need to start instantly building some armor and magic armor right after. So you could go Tainted Guard or Giant's Ring or Citadel. If you're really snowballing, you could go Citadel third. Otherwise, Citadel third might not be the best option. So probably Tainted Guard or Giant's Ring, whichever one you really need. If you want to get some anti-heal online, go for it. If you want to get some more cooldown reduction online, go for it. And then immediately following after that, you're going to want a magic armor item. So Magic armor, when it comes to crunch, it's probably just exclusively Unbroken Will if they have the CC. If they don't have a CC heavy team, like if they have like basically no CC, then you could go Void Helm. This is going to give you ability haste, health, magic armor, and then gain 10% increased healing, and then immobilizing enemy hero restores 3% of your maximum health. So if you're doing an empowered knockup, or you're like your empowered E, which is a knockup, you're going to get some restored health, and then you're going to be able to increase your own healing by 10%. So Void Helm is a good option if they don't have a lot of CC. If they have like 1 or 2 CCs, you just go Unbroken Will. Unbroken Will is again, it's the same thing I've been talking about with other tanks, or with tanks. It's just the best tank item in the game. And when you're doing this kind of a damage focused build, you need to get this kind of frontliney setup going for crunch regardless. Whether you have the augmentation or not, you'd probably just slide any of these other items back over. So now that you have like this 4 slot going, you can throw in a Tainted Guard, you could throw in a Citadel, and if you don't have the augmentation, like say you're not going the double damage items, then you just do something like this, right? And you basically just need to get really familiar with crunch items in general, so that way you can throw any of these in where you need them. If you need the anti-healing, because say they have like a Chimera or a Crunch themselves, or a Rampage or a Narbash, then bring the Tainted Guard pretty early. If you don't want to bring the Tainted Guard early, kick this towards the back and slide the Giant Slayer or the Giant's Ring in this slot, and then you can bring the Unbroken Will, and then you can bring the Tainted Guard if you need it at all. If you don't need it at all, then slot something like the Citadel for 4th, right? So you just need to learn crunch items and then recognize when you need to get them. So it's really, really hard to just say, hey, this is what you get, right? But for those of you that don't know, Giant's Ring, 325 HP, 60 physical armor, 10 ability haste. So again, you're getting haste, which is really what Crunch wants. He wants haste. This build itself having 35 haste, but Retribution, basic attacks from enemy heroes reduce your current basic ability cooldowns by 0.25 seconds. And then whenever you cast your ultimate, you double the effectiveness of that. So this is going to bring you more cooldown reduction as well, on top of being able to build some of the haste that you have for yourself. So these are like the main items that you're going to want to build on crunch. Again, any of these armor items like Stonewall, if they have a heavy melee frontline team, very similar to what I've said with other tanks, you can build that. Magic armor, you could do double tainted, but you probably don't need it. And then Citadel, whether you put it in like say slots like 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, doesn't really matter. You do just want to get this online at some point, because this is just an insanely strong like bruiser item for characters that want to use the physical power. So I would build this on pretty much any like tanky bruiser, Chimera, Greystone, right? You want to get this item online. Same thing goes for Greystone. So that's pretty much what I'm thinking. It's a pretty short and sweet one. I wish I could do the kind of standard, hey, this is your 3 slot build and then slots 4, 5 is open. It just doesn't really feel that way with crunch. You kind of get like 1 or 2 slots pretty solid, and that's like Mutilator, Augmentation maybe, or Mutilator, and then one of these armor items, and then you just bring the rest in line when you need them. So if you have any questions, I know this one's a little bit more open-ended, drop them down in the comment section below. If you have any questions about items specifically, if you're like, hey, is this any good on him, let me know in the comments down below. I definitely would like to answer those. Drop a like on this video, subscribe for future Predecessor content. As always, be sure to be kind to one another, tell someone you love them, and I'll see you on the next video.